welcome or welcome back to Party Trick Astrology. I'm Nina.
I'm Shaina.
And this is a continuation of our Lilith series, getting into Lilith in Libra, baby. If you don't know, we've already gone from Aries to Virgo, and we've also gone from first house to sixth house. So after this Lilith in Libra video, we'll have Lilith in the seventh house. But between all of the videos that we have going on, you probably have something to watch already, whether it's your house placement, your crush, your sworn enemy, I don't know. But if you're wanting to know a bit more about Lilith, we also have a Lilith introductory video, which is all about what Lilith is, the different Liliths, the story of Lilith, and that really paints a picture of how we interpret Lilith. We're also talking about the Black Moon Lilith specifically in this series. It can be the true Lilith or the mean Lilith. Both of those are the Black Moon Lilith.
Yes, and we've mentioned that we have closed Party Trick Astrology readings, but we are selling separate readings, and all those links will be down below. Nina's got another channel, she's got Instagram, a bunch of stuff. I'm going to start another channel. It's up, I'll link it down below, but there's not going to be anything on it for a hot minute, but at some point there will be. And I have a TikTok and everything down below, so check out the down bar. But yeah, enough of that. This is Party Trick Astrology, so let's just get into the Libra Lilith video.
Lilith in Libra. The thing with Lilith in Libra, sometimes I think that you're kind of getting the best of both worlds in the worst way possible, because you can think of our Lilith in Taurus video, and Lilith in Libra definitely shares a lot of Lilith in Taurus qualities because it is a Venus ruled sign. So there is somewhat of this obsession with Venusian things and commodity, and somewhat, not as much as Lilith in Taurus, but also with Libra being an extroverted masculine air sign. You also have some of those Lilith air sign qualities. Specifically, the way that Lilith in Libra manifests itself the most is socially, especially in one-on-one relationships, romantic relationships. We talked a lot about Lilith in Gemini and how that can impact your social circles and the way that you socialize in sort of your community and friendships and whatnot. But Lilith in Libra will really manifest itself more in the space between you and another person. Like Lilith in Gemini, it will show up sort of like, oh, you talk bad so much and you're so addicted to talking bad and creating gossip that you sort of end up alienating yourself from a group of people, from a social circle. With Lilith in Libra, the detriment of it really takes place much more in our one-to-one relationships, and especially romantic.
Since Nina was just talking about how much it manifests in one-to-one relationships, I think a huge key part of Libra Lilith is the, I'm not trying to like be mean right off the bat, you know, or like scare you right off the bat.
Did we just like make all of the disclaimers and be like, listen, we're not trying to be mean, we're not trying to drag you. Literally, there's no, for me, there's no judgment in what I'm saying. It's like shit happens. We all have a Lilith, but I'm not here to tell you that Lilith is fine and dandy. She's going to create messy bitch situations in your life. If you want to hear about how great you are, look at something else.
Where Lilith is going to be a messy bitch is in relationships. Libra Lilith kind of picks ridiculous people and is in a lot of ridiculous relationship scenarios. I mean, you're going to be attracted to probably all the wrong people and to all the wrong relationships, and it's going to be really, really hard to get out of that relationship once you're in it. A Libra Lilith can be a very dedicated partner and can put a lot of time and love and energy into their partnership, but sometimes, you know, it's that classic thing of putting the energy into the wrong person, especially with Libra. It wants everything to be balanced, but with it being in Lilith, it's probably going to be one extreme or the other. You know, as much as Libra looks for balance, it's one of the most unbalanced signs, so that can kind of manifest a lot in relationships.
We all know what unhealthy relationships look like. We all know, I shouldn't say we all know, but I feel like my corner of people that I surround myself with, my corner of the internet, I mean, we all know how unhealthy relationships can manifest themselves when you become attached and obsessed to the idea of being in a relationship. And of course, these characteristics can come across with a multitude of different placements, aspects, whatnot in the birth chart. But Libra Lilith's distinct twist on this concept of unhealthy relationships is that Lilith, first of all, does not have a smooth introduction to the sign that she is in your case Libra, or in this case Libra. There is always an element of being isolated, of being expelled and not allowed to experience whatever the archetype that your Lilith placement is in, the sign that your Lilith is in. So there's not this natural knack, there's not this natural savvy, and therefore there's a larger sense of clinginess, of attachment, of obsession with the qualities that that sign represents. On top of that, Lilith is controlling. Lilith wants to be in control. So with Lilith and Libra, you have this mixture of insecurity because these Libra things don't come naturally to you, and intense attachment and desire to control. So it can come about in really messy ways. I'm sure you know better than me how exactly it might play out. This fear that people don't like you, are going to leave you, but this attachment that you need this connection, that you need value through social relationships. That's what Libra represents in general. It's ruled by Venus, the planet of value, but it's specifically speaking to the value that we get from one-on-one connection. And so there's an intense clinginess to connection, just like Lilith and Taurus has this clinginess to objects. They're the more clingy Liliths, I feel like, in some ways, because they're attaching to something Venusian, which is something practical or something, I don't know, valuable. And so there creates that clinginess and there creates that obsession, but deep down there is an insecurity that you're not worth what you're seeking so badly. So it's a really tough placement to have Lilith. At the same time, your Lilith in Libra may not be the most prominent thing about you by any means. And it can also play itself out in a bunch of different ways, depending on its aspects, its houses. But these are some of the trappings that you may run into as a Lilith in Libra.
With any Lilith placement, always what kind of kicks it off is that feeling of exile from that sign or house. And with Libra Lilith, you have that, kind of piggybacking off of what Nina was saying, you have this feeling of exile as far as almost like familiarity, getting along with people, fitting in even. Like Libra Lilith wants everybody to like them. That's a big feeling, but what usually happens is that comes from not the typical Libra placements where, oh, I'm so friendly, oh, I want you to like me because I'm so friendly and nice, but more coming from the place of a lot of times with Libra Lilith, there's a lot of lies and gossip and rumors spread about you and people talking behind your back and, you know, you doing the same as well as a response. So that feeling of exile, like I thought of a little bit of a different example because I was thinking that my grandpa has this, and I was like, what's interesting with that is I was like, maybe that's coming from the fact that he was an Italian immigrant and his family never learned how to speak English. There is a feeling of being an outsider there, and with my grandpa, he then became overly friendly and overly approachable and would always talk to everyone and would always try to find, you know, that point where they would all get along with, as to seem relatable, as to seem Yeah, she just seemed likable and friendly, but I'm not about to go into all the celebrities, but I just have to mention this because you need to think about her throughout this whole video, because I feel like she is the quintessential Libra Lilith, and that is Kim Kardashian. She's the quintessential Libra Lilith also because it's right conjunct her sun, right conjunct her Libra sun, and so I think that she is somebody who displays all of this stuff perfectly, because what do people love to do is talk shit about her. I love to talk shit about her. Everyone loves to talk gossip, rumors, everything. But what does she do? She turns that into popularity. She's able to turn that narrative and boost her popularity from it. You know, oh, you don't like me because all I do is be a Libra. Oh, you don't like this, you don't like, okay, well, I'm gonna use that and boost me times 1,000. You know, it's in her 11th house conjunct her sun, that's in her 10th house, so of course it's much more, why can't I think of the word? So it's much more social. It's much more, I can't think of the right word.
Of course, with Kim Kardashian, it's conjunct her sun in the 10th house, so it's making up a big part of her public persona. So it's even more relevant to us, the people who don't know her personally, than maybe even the people who do know her personally, because it is, you know, in this broadcasted area of her life.
Even just the fact that she's having like a failed marriage, I feel like is also a very like Libra Lilith thing, like a very public marriage that was like married for money, and then it had this big, you know, the divorce is a big explosion. Like failed relationships is very common with this placement.
Yeah, or her 72-day marriage.
Oh my god, I forgot. Yes.
An example that could be like more personable and less, you know, taking up your entire life is just feeling like you don't get clued in, let into sort of more harmonious spaces or likable spaces, that because Libra is all about finding the balance between two people, and oftentimes that means like, oh, the Libra energy causes one person to meld a little bit into the version of this person and find like a yin yang between two people. And when you have a negative experience with the Libra archetype, which is usually the case when you have Lilith in Libra, there can be that feeling where you're just not let in, not allowed to make this harmonious balance in relationships. These can be romantic, marriage, whatever it can, but it's always one-to-one relationships usually. Or if it's not, it's sort of like this idea that you don't know how to behave in society, like the unspoken rules of how to be like a good, responsible person, because that's the idea of like what Libra is always wanting to do. You don't inherently have that experience of being let in and being allowed to form relationships one-to-one, or just in general, you don't have the experience of being naturally having the knack or the savvy to step into this Libra role in society in which you know the right thing to do, the right thing to say in order to make everybody happy. And so there can become an obsession with the way that you interact with other people. You can become obsessive with how you interact with other people, and that's how it can maybe play across in a scenario in which Libra Lilith is affecting your sociability in general. Or you can become very obsessed with acquiring one-to-one relationships, sticking with them, even like being everything that you need to be to make them like you, and do whatever you need to do to make them like you. The thing is that as much as Lilith doesn't have an inherent knack or savvy with the sign that it's in, it learns. It learns like deeply and quickly, and so much to the point that it can't unlearn the intensity of that sign. So Lilith always has its compromises, always needs to make sacrifices with the way that it behaves. And the sacrifices that it makes by behaving so intensely like a Libra when it's in Libra is that Lilith makes you lose yourself and lose your sense of autonomy, lose your independence, because there is such a desire to cling to these relationships or the sociability that she never inherently had. And so that also can create its own set of problems beyond, you know, becoming a more codependent person. It can create its set of problems of when you're not authentic in a relationship, eventually that gets figured out and that becomes an ugly trait in you instead of what you're trying to make it, which is an appealing trait in you.
I always try to dress a little bit for these videos. So this is my Libra Lilith outfit. I'm wearing a vintage Victoria's Secret slip, and also just little like Libra earrings. But something else about Libra Lilith is they can kind of twist the truth. They can kind of bend words. They can use their words and their flirting and their charm as a way to manipulate you. And a lot of times the things that they say and why they're doing these little white lies is because of what Nina's saying. They're trying to fit in. They're trying to do that back and forth thing. And also maybe Libra Lilith was a little bit lied to when they were younger. And so even though I said this is a vintage Victoria's Secret slip, it is just a random $2 slip that I got at Goodwill, and I feel like a Libra Lilith would talk it up and be like, oh, I once heard somebody say Victoria's Secret, that must be the popular thing, so that's what I'm gonna say this is, so that I get status and that people look at me and are jealous of me. So that was my thought process behind the outfits. I don't know, maybe it's silly.
It's also just like pink and lacy,
yeah,
and screams what we think of Libra.
Of course, yeah, of course. Because like I said, there's a lot of false preaching to create a sort of image. And especially in relationships, I've noticed that Libra Lilith can be very, very flirty. It can depend on the house. Like I wound up knowing a lot of people with Libra Lilith in the 3rd house, so I feel like that's a real combination that would make somebody pretty flirty, you know, if it's in a more fiery or air house. And I've seen some Libra Liliths, you know, like I said, there are problems within your relationships, and you know, Libra Lilith can get cheated on, as just anybody else can. A lot of times I find it comes because Libra Lilith like to create situations and then be the angel that comes down and fixes them and is like, look, I fixed this conflict that I secretly created. And so they can kind of secretly create conflict. They can be very flirtatious outside of their relationship, flirt with everyone, you know, schmooze this and that, and then be totally flabbergasted and just sideswept when they get cheated on. But it's like, whoa, you've almost, you know, you've been talking to everyone else, you've been doing this little thing, but then they turn around and get cheated on and feel totally betrayed. And I'm not saying one person's in the wrong or this or that, that's not what I'm saying. It's just a situation that can occur.
Yeah, the reason why a Libra Lilith will react that way in a situation is because anytime that Lilith is acting out, it's completely nonsensical, it's absolutely emotional, gut feelings, and also the weakness of having a Libra Lilith is that you don't have an intuitive inherent grasp on being able to see both sides and find balance. And also, again, Lilith is addicting. Just like Lilith in Leo will be addicted to attention from anyone and everyone, Lilith in Libra will also be addicted to not attention and not like love in the same way that Lilith and Leo will, but affirmation of being liked. They can sound very similar, but the difference is that Lilith and Leo wants to be acknowledged for who they are and be like, I'm here, I'm showing up, love me, and you must love me, and I will be addicted to how much you love me. Lilith in Libra is more calculated in the way that they want affirmation of like, I'm doing a good job at swooning you. That's not the right word, but like, I'm doing a good job at making you like me, affirm me. And it can almost be like a game. We talked about in Lilith in the 6th house how it's very common for people with Lilith in the 6th house to flirt and seduce in the workplace, because at the end of the day, it's a very Lilith thing to overall flirt and seduce, because that's you gaining power over the other person. But this quality is the most prominent in Lilith and Libra, because Libra is just like the sign in charge with flirting. And so Lilith and Libra will want to flirt and seduce and change themselves in order to prove to themselves and be affirmed by you that they can be likable in whatever skin, and they can change into whatever skin, and you like that. And they have power over you now because they were able to manipulate you in this way.
Yes, I completely agree. To piggyback off of that, because a Libra placement is good at lying, is knows how the subtleties of like what to say and what's too far. I feel like Libra Lilith doesn't really understand what's too far. And so people can see those lies a little bit more. And so it's like a good example is like with what Nina was saying with that agreeability is instead of just being like, let me think of, oh, you like Game of Thrones? I don't know Game of Thrones, but like, you know, a Libra would be like, I don't know, but fake an interest, fake an interest for it. Let's get into Game of Thrones. Like, sure. But then a Libra Lilith will be like, instead of just saying, oh, I'm faking an interest, they'll be like, yes, I'm the biggest fan of Game of Thrones. I know everything about it, and da-da-da-da, and just go so far with their agreeability that it's like, obviously, it's gonna slip up. People are gonna realize, oh, this girl's completely fucking lying. Whereas if you just would have faked an interest, whatever. But no, like, Libra Lilith has to go that kind of extra step of like, whoa, calm down, The agreeability can go as far as, like, since I already used my grandpa as an example, we're keeping with it. Like, he kept his marriage for way too long. Like, everybody was like, y'all should split up. And he was like, no, there's nothing wrong with our marriage. And it's like, no, every day there's something wrong with your goddamn marriage. And he got out of that relationship and he was like, I don't understand why she divorced me. Like, this makes no sense. I have no idea. And it's like, maybe it's because you fought every day. Maybe it's because, you obviously didn't like. Maybe it's because of all these other problems. But sometimes a Libra Lilith really won't get it. Like, there's just this underlying thing that as much as there isn't commitment, they still will try to fake commitment, probably because, Libra Lilith, you probably didn't see the best relationship growing up. You probably didn't, see an equal partnership in your parents, so you don't really understand what that looks like, and so you can be going through an unhealthy relationship, and to you, in your eyes, it's what's healthy, or it's just that thing where it's what it's what's comfortable, or you just have to scratch that itch and keep staying in that relationship, or something like that.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like, lots of people can relate to the fact that sometimes really unhealthy relationships are still hard to get out of if you're not using your brain. Like, if you're going from the gut, if you're going from the heart and the feelings, and you're not using your brain, it can be really hard. And I'm not trying to be like, use your brain, dumbass. I'm just saying, like, we're feeling creatures. What do we keep saying? Lilith is nonsensical. Lilith doesn't use her head, use her brain. She comes from those guttural, instinctual emotions. And the Libra Lilith instinct is partner at all costs. It's just, what the hell would the Libra Lilith do if they didn't have someone to act their Libra out on? Because that's the thing too, is that Libra Lilith can't function on its own. It absolutely needs another person or another influence to be able to have it act out and to stimulate it at all. When Lilith gets what it wants, she's not going to let it go. She's going to be like, if you let go of this relationship, I will not have my food. I will not have anything feeding me.
This is totally unrelated, but I have to say, sometimes the way that you sit, it looks like that mirror is like a little halo around you.
I know.
I love it. It's so Libra Venus. It's so perfect. I think it's so sweet. Anyways, okay, I thought of another antidote of a Libra Lilith example, which kind of goes the other way. Because a lot of times Libra Lilith, Libra Lilith especially is not going to really speak up, or it can kind of be somebody who, does that thing of, oh, well, if, they didn't do it to me, if they didn't hurt me, then I'm still going to be friends with them. It can kind of be a thing. But it can also go the other way, because I was thinking about a time when I was with somebody who only has a Libra Lilith, no other Libra energy, no other 7th house energy. There's a few people, and we were at an outside event. There was a dog, and the way that the dog was, like, kind of chained up looked kind of like ooh, is the dog okay? Like that, does that hurt? It just wasn't a really good scenario. And so we were talking with some people, like, unrelated to the people that own the dog, and the person was like, oh my God, that dog, like, right? Like, it's da-da-da. And I was agreeing. I was like, yeah, totally. And the people around us were like, whoa, like, you know, keep it down. Like, don't say anything. Like, they might hear you. And the Libra Lilith was immediately like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh yeah. And like didn't say anything. And I think that might be a common thing for Libra Lilith to encounter, is whenever they do try to speak up, whenever they do say something that's a little bit, you know, they might hear you, people are immediately going to be like, shush, 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 shush. You know, and they're going to respond by being, oh yeah. Kind of probably always hearing that narrative of like, keep it down, don't say anything. Like, if you see this going on, keep a closed mouth. So it's like, even maybe when you guys do try to speak up, you're immediately met with hush, hush, hush kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that it's just like very natural for when a Libra Lilith is reminded that what they're saying might make them unlikable to shut it down. Because there's just like this very real fear of, you don't want to go back to that place. You don't want to go back to that place of exclusion. Regardless of if it's you speaking up or if it's that naggy little Lilith speaking up, you've had this Libra Lilith experience of being excluded, of being not welcomed. And oh my God, as humans, we need connection, and it's vital to our survival. And so you never want to be in that place again. And your Libra Lilith will make sure of that at all costs, to the point of her allowing you to lose your sense of individuality, your own perspective, your morals, values, everything. Of course, I'm not saying that in this situation, I'm like, oh, this girl, she lost all of her morals and values. I'm just saying that if you, again, let Lilith and Libra take the driver's seat, it can go that way.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of agreeability, and almost like I can feel some Libra Liliths feel like indentured to people. Like, I need to help them, I need to keep a smile on my face, and I need to let them almost sometimes like abuse my time, abuse my energy. Yeah, just a big feeling of obligation to people sometimes. And also wanting a very like typical relationship that looks so good on the outside, and like this is the smart partner, they can like feel obligated to be with that person possibly too, whether they want to or not.
Yes, because a big part of relationships is that, especially for people who have kind of like unhealthy Libra energy, is that by being in a relationship, you are showing the world that you are valuable, that you are likable. Like, we talked a lot about how Venus and Taurus might have missed out, might have had that exile experience with Venus and Taurus in the fact that they didn't have practical value. They didn't have resources growing up that allowed them to associate a certain level of value to themselves. Their combating of that would be by hoarding, collecting luxury products, overspending, all of that sort of stuff. With Libra Lilith, it's still about value, it's still ruled by Venus, but it's about social value. It's not about literal commodity. So you might have had a lot of practical value introduced to you, but been made to feel that on the inside, who you are, your character, and therefore how you relate socially makes you less than, makes you not valuable. And that sucks. I don't know what else to say. That sucks. But that's why your Lilith and Libra will do whatever it can to combat that feeling, to keep you from feeling that, and to stray you away from that belief.
Yes, and I think that's where Libra Lilith comes in, as far as, you know, they turn around and they go, okay, you know, if everybody's going to talk shit, if I'm not going to get along, then all press is good press. I want people gossiping about me. That might become the itch, like, yeah, you know, say something mean about me, you know, exile me. I'm going to be on top. Everybody thinks I'm the hottest in the room. Everybody wants to date me. Like, Libra Lilith is very much like a look but don't touch kind of energy. Like, we'll tease until the very last last second kind of thing. Okay, so I'm gonna get into some celebrities. Another way that Libra Lilith can go, very good examples, like Justin Timberlake, like very, you know, very sexual songs, but very like that Libra thing of where we all accept it into the mainstream because he has that, you know, that charm, that smile. And almost I thought about wearing almost like audition clothes to the Libra Lilith video, because like I feel like there is a vibe of like wanting to wear, you know, like clean cut, solid colors, approachable, likable clothes, sometimes almost diluting that, like diluting your sense of self for that approachability. And I just feel like Justin Timberlake's style is almost like a good example, because he like wears like jeans and Henleys. Like I feel like that's his vibe.
Doesn't he have a song called Suit and Tie?
Oh, he does have a song called Suit and Tie. Yeah, like, yeah.
And also, what's that song? Mirrors? It's all about, like, I'm not complete without you. Like, I'm looking right at the other half of me. I had a vacancy in my heart, and now you filled it.
Yes! Oh my god, I don't know that song, but that's so good! A Libra Lilith that I love is Danny DeVito has a Libra Lilith, and there was one time where I met him, and he was, like, so unbelievably nice, and so just unbelievably like accepting and like talking to anybody of like any ranking. And so I was like, oh, maybe that Libra Lilith is like, he feels exiled from almost like being, you know, conventionally pretty. So I wonder if it goes the other way, where he tries to be so friendly and so likable. And it was just so odd, because I was almost like, when I met him, I was like, yeah, it makes sense why everyone would want this man on their set. I think that that's possibly like a good side of Libra Lilith. Like I'm sure that came from a lot of pain and a lot of discomfort, but there is a side of Libra Lilith that the friendliness can really draw you in. You know, Libra Lilith is also obviously ruled by Venus, so there were quite a few really famous fashion designers like Coco Chanel, Yves Saint Laurent, Louis Vuitton. These are three of the biggest names. And of course they have a Libra Lilith. You know, of course they're making clothes, making luxury goods, trying to look good and appeal to a lot of people. There is something about that Coco Chanel Libra Lilith thing that is like, you know, take one accessory off. That's a little judgmental. That's a little bit like prissy. That's a little bit Libra Lilith of like, you know? Well, to all of them, actually. They're, you know.
But it's also, like, what made Coco Chanel, like, Coco Chanel is just her classic look.
Right,
the
class.
Like, everyone loves a little black dress.
Yes.
Like, literally, her thing is, like, what can I make that everyone will like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such a good fucking point. So a thing that I found funny, because they also have it all in the same house with these three people that I really don't like. So I'm like, maybe I really don't like this combination of Lilith. But it's Gwyneth Paltrow, John McCain, and Matt Damon all have Libra Lilith in the 8th house. And I'm like, all pretty discriminatory. Like,
makes sense. I don't know anyone who really likes Gwyneth Paltrow. I mean, she's a really easy target.
Yeah, I have had her at my target since I was in like at the beginning of high school for no reason. I'm like, why do I hate Gwyneth Paltrow? I don't know. Fuck her. Fuck her. Why is she, what is she doing? What? Nothing. She's just being she's just being appealing. She's just being likable. She's not doing jack shit. You know.
She also had a public divorce. She like, if you have heard the term conscious uncoupling, that's what she used for her divorce from the guy from Coldplay.
Oh,
like,
she was with a guy from Coldplay?
Yeah.
You're giving me more ammo.
Consciously uncoupling. And it's like, just say what it is. And it's maybe, again, like, Libra Lilith doesn't want to admit that their marriage is going down the tubes. But I'm fairly sure that by the time she was consciously uncoupling, she already was, like, with her now husband or partner.
Yeah, she uses such like flowery language like that. I feel like that's very like Libra Lilith, you know?
And just like it's very Libra Lilith to be like, there's no toxins, it's toxin free and EWG certified. It's like very,
it's all bullshit.
it's very fake, honestly, and like also manipulative.
Yes, hot air. Libra Lilith blows hot air. Is like, you know, fills you up with hot air, fills you up with fake confidence, blows hot air, and you know what they're selling. A lot of times they're selling themselves. They blow hot air into who they are. You know, it's a very common thing with this placement.
I think that her sexuality is somewhat at the forefront. Like, you can't just like put out yoni eggs and
yes.
vagina scented candles without having sexuality be part of your brand.
Quickly, like Joe Jonas. I know the Jonas Brothers were like made to keep this perfect image, right? Because they were like religious and for kids, like, you know, Libra Lilith in the 11th house, like trying to seem the most likable, the most pure, the most presentable to a mass group of people. I wish that I should have looked into this a little bit more, but my last one is Jodie Foster. I only know about her because of some things that my roommate told me. It's in her 10th house, which is something I should mention. And I'm pretty sure that something that she dealt with a lot was being a female in the work environment from a young age and dealing with all the bullshit that comes with that, you know, and feeling that really heavy weight of, you know, what do I do with these stereotypes? How do I navigate the situation? And she was very masterful in how she navigated that situation. You know, it's in the 10th house. She really rised from it. Also, she was like the whole reason I think why Silence of the Lambs was created. I think like had a big hand in making that, and it's all psychological, and Libra is like very psychological. Libra a lot of times is always trying to figure out why people do things the way that they do, and so I feel like Silence of the Lambs is all about that kind of like, why does he do this thing, and am I being manipulated, and you know, and almost like a weird Lilithy partnership between the two of them, you know. Oh, you know what, I'm sorry, I actually do want to mention one more. Okay, the last one that I want to mention is Oprah Winfrey. She has it in her 9th house, which I feel like is really obvious, and she has like a lot of Aquarius, Sagittarius energy. But that Libra Lilith, I think, is why, even though she's such a radical person, in so many ways, and was such a radical person, people accepted her because she understood that Libra Lilith thing. As much as there might have been some, you know, she's, you know, preaching all this stuff, Aquarius, Sagittarius energy, but that Libra Lilith, I think, as much as she felt outcast from everyone, she then found a way to kind of find her niche and help people. You know, I talked about like feeling almost like indentured to people, almost feeling indentured to helping people possibly.
Yeah, definitely. And this like respectability that she has. Well, does she have a Scorpio midheaven maybe?
I think so.
Yeah, so that gives her like a big big notch up in respectability. But is there nothing more like, how do I make people come to my show? How do I make people like me? Just
talk about them
stuff.
Oh, give them
talk
stuff.
About them and give them stuff.
Yeah, make it about them and give them stuff. Oh, that's so good.
Guest, it's like talk about them, make it about them, and then audience, come to my show because you'll get a car and you'll get a car and all that.
Everybody gets a car, Libra Lilith. Everyone is included because I didn't feel included, so now everyone is included.
Yeah, I hear a bunch of conspiracy theories involving Oprah Winfrey, like about her relationships specifically.
Oh.
About her marriage or boyfriend, and then her friend Gail, and So yeah, basically, Lilith in Libra is feeling exiled, unvaluable in a social sense, and then doing whatever the heck you possibly can to avoid that feeling. But there's so much more to your Lilith, so you can also check out our video on your Lilith house placement.
Yes, and as a last little thing, when I was reading about Libra Lilith, people were like, oh, you need to learn, you know, Libra Lilith needs to learn how to wholeheartedly act for others. And I was like, I feel like they need to learn how to wholeheartedly act for themselves, and that's how acting honestly in front of others will come from. You know, I feel like Libra Lilith does a lot of things to the perspective of others, and you need to turn that lens on yourself and ask yourself what you want, how you feel, and taking responsibility, you know?
Well, to sort of like flip it a bit, I feel like everything that Libra Lilith does for the sake of others is for the sake of themselves.
That's true, but it's, yeah.
Maybe that's what they mean. It's like wholeheartedly put yourself into doing things for others instead of half-heartedly and really with that under motivation of doing it for yourself.
Yeah, but yes, overall, thank you guys so much for watching this Libra Lilith video, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye!
Yes, bye!